This presentation certainly isn't as exciting as our student accomplishments, but we are excited to be sharing this program with you tonight. So this program was presented in curriculum committee last month with the idea of really supporting, being able to support our students as they're moving into the summer. We know that this year has been challenging in very many different ways and different ways for different families. So one of the things that we wanted to look at is how we can provide some academic support for our youngest students, K to 8, in the areas of reading and math as they move into the summer for families who choose to do so. So this program is an optional program for families. It will be offered at no cost to families, covered through our ESSER funding. And it is designed with busy summer schedules in mind, knowing that our families have a lot of things going on. Many of our families we know need a break. I'm a mom of 2 young kids, and I know they need that break too during the summer. So we try to build a program that is flexible, but that offers maybe something for everyone if they so choose to do so. So we are offering, we're hoping to offer 3 programs this summer. The Summer RAMS program stands for Reading and Math Success. So we're looking at offering 3 options. One is a fully asynchronous option, one is a virtual option, and one is an in-person option. I'm going to start with the virtual and in-person options. Again, the goal of this is to provide targeted interventions for our students in the areas of math and reading. It is not an acceleration program, and it is also designed to strengthen the skills for students in the areas of reading and math and to help address those learning gaps that may or may not be a concern for some of our families. We know that this is a nationwide concern, learning gaps that may have developed over the year as a result of COVID. So this is a program to address that, and we are going to be really emphasizing the fact that this program is to address those concerns. It is not an acceleration program, and we're really asking for support from our families to help just understand the purpose of our program in doing so. Again, the focus will be on ELA and math. And I will share here too, as we're planning and rolling this out, a lot of this will be pending on staffing. That, to be completely honest and transparent, will be the #1 challenge that we're going to face. And it really the largest obstacle in making sure that we can adequately staff the program the way we would like to. So we have already started that process, but we are being realistic with the fact that that may be one of the limiting factors. Our teachers have done an absolutely phenomenal job this year. They have worked really, really hard to provide quality experiences for our students, and we know that they also need a break. So part of that flexibility that we have in the program is to be able to get as much staff as possible and work with their flexible schedules as well. So the virtual option, each of these options are divided up into 2-week increments. Again, to enhance the flexibility so that our families can choose the options that work best for them. It is designed so that families can choose among 3 different 2-week sessions. And we're going to use data from a program called iReady, which will help us provide specific targeted needs for students in the areas of reading and math. It is designed to be a half-day program, and our intention is to offer it in the morning and the afternoon. Families may also receive a home kit with this program as well, which may include instructional resources such as leveled readers or anchor text. Some of that will be dependent on the grade level. You can see here there's a sample schedule for our virtual option, but it's looking at starting about 7:45 and going to 11:15. And again, it would be targeted in reading or math. We are also hoping to offer a virtual pre-algebra program. This would be an option for any student who would be enrolling in Algebra 1 for the 2021-22 school year. So as the virtual program I just mentioned is really designed for those who might need some remediation and some stronger focus on some of the learning gaps. This is really designed for any student who would be enrolling in Algebra 1 next year. We know that Algebra 1 is a gateway course. We know that Algebra 1 success directly links to student success in high school as well. So we want to really prioritize this course and offer a virtual pre-algebra course for any student who is entering Algebra 1 next school year. And the idea again that this would be offered 3 times in 2-week sessions. Again, this would be pending staff. My next step would be to make sure I can secure the staff and offer only what we want, what we're able to adequately staff. Now moving into our in-person option. Our in-person option is similar to our virtual option in that it would be running again in those 3-week increments, or those 2-week increments rather, 3 times throughout the summer. Again, it's flexible for our students so that it meets the busy schedules of our families. We would continue to use the iReady data to help support instruction, and it is a half-a-day program. The difference with this is that we will have math and reading at the same time for this intervention program as well. As always, we would follow all current safety precautions and follow the mandatory mask as well. And you'll see a sample schedule here as well. Here's just a quick snapshot of what the schedule would look like. You'll see the session 1 would run June 28th through July 8th. The session 2 would run July 12th through July 22nd, and session 3 would run July 26th through August 5th. The idea is that families would, once again, be able to select the session, whether it's in person, or virtual, that works best for them, that run throughout this time frame. The final option that we have too is to offer an asynchronous option. Each student would receive a prescriptive pathway based on their needs in math and reading, and this could be done at any time throughout the summer. It would be available from the minute they complete the diagnostic assessment until the end of the summer. Students would receive both instruction and practice via a digital platform using iReady, and as I mentioned, they would have access to that digital platform until August 27th rather. They would have access to the platform 24/7, so they can choose a time that works best for them. The nice thing about this program is that all students, whether or not they're asynchronous, whether or not they're fully virtual, or they're choosing the virtual option, or they're choosing the in-person option, would have access to this program as well. So what are our next steps when a family is interested? The first step will be, once we receive hopefully approval tonight, we're going to be hitting the ground. In fact, I already have a training set up so that we can start to get what's called the diagnostic assessment off the ground. The first step would be to complete the iReady diagnostic assessment or placement assessment. Now, I want to stress something that's really important about this assessment, is that it is a low stakes assessment. And in a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But we are working on some communication for families on how to start that. There will be instructional videos as well as how to do both the math and or reading, again, depending on what the families choose. And they would complete the assessment on their own at home, and the results will be shared with their families. So an important note about the diagnostic or placement assessment. I think that term sounds pretty hefty, a diagnostic assessment. And really what this is, we're choosing the iReady program because it's not an assessment that we currently use within our program. This is a low stakes assessment, and what I mean by that is that it's designed for learning. It's designed for students to understand what their instructional needs are and how to best address those instructional needs. So this data is only used to help develop an instructional plan for the students. It is not something that is going to be used. In fact, right now, our teachers aren't even going to see the data because it is new data for us, and it really will be used just for the summer for them to be able to understand and develop a learning path. So the assessment is adaptive, and what that means is that it gets harder when students demonstrate their need, and it's designed to understand a student's needs. So at some point, a student will cap out and not be able to progress in the assessment because they've reached their learning target there. And that's how the program then designs an instructional path that's best for students. What's nice about this is that the student who wants some enrichment over the summer and wants to go further will have that opportunity. The student who might need some remediation will also have that opportunity as well because it is adaptive. One of the things that we're going to stress in the video for families is that we're going to really ask to help prompt with procedures, not with content. The program is only as accurate as the data that is input within the program. So we want students to reach that productive struggle with the assessment so that the program can then adapt to where the students are and develop an appropriate learning plan for them. So we are going to, as part of the video, roll out to families, talk about this, talk about how they can prompt for the content so that they are not leading to frustration later for students when they are getting content that's too difficult for them. So after students take the assessment, they won't immediately receive the report, but we will be sending out the report. This is one of the details we have to work out and how this is going to be delivered. But there's a report called Fourth Families, and this is designed to explain the results of the assessment, explain what the data means and how to read it. This will then prompt students, once they get the report, if they choose, they can look into either the virtual options or the in-person options. And this is a great way then for them to have a little bit of data so that families can make that decision whether or not they want to enroll their children. Once they complete that diagnostic assessment, they will have immediate access to the asynchronous platform as well, so they can get started on that right away and then choose a little bit later on if they wanted to enroll in one of the virtual or in-person sessions. So with that, that brings us to the overall program. Are there any questions?
Kelly, great presentation. And that's when we went through this at the curriculum, I thought it was so important to bring it to the board this evening. And I don't know, I didn't realize we actually need to give approval on this, but I'm fully behind this 150%. Couple questions. One is that, and we talked about this at curriculum, and I don't know if you made any headway of making sure that we're able to get this out to all families, not, just make sure that the message is, K through 8, because this has been a focus K through 8.
Absolutely. So we developed kind of a plan moving forward. So once hopefully we get board approval tonight, our next step will be to get our instructional videos out for how to complete the assessment. And we are also working on flyers and communication so that that message can go out to all of our families. We are also going to have a process where we are going to share this with our teachers, make sure our teachers are aware of the program so that they can also encourage students to apply that they might see have a need as well. So our goal is to really focus on the communication from this point forward. We did send out an interest survey about a month and a half ago. That interest survey was purely just to gather data, and it was not binding. It wasn't enrollment or anything. It was just to make sure that it was more so for me as I planned, I wanted to make sure I'm developing a program that's responsive to the community needs. So while we had about 907 families respond to that, and I think it represented about 1,270 families, or I'm sorry, individual students, we know that this doesn't reflect all of our students, but because it was just a general interest survey, it gave us data with how to plan the program. So the good thing is I think that information that we gathered is generalizable enough for us to be able to plan the program. But at this point, we're offering a virtual option. So if a family wants that, they have that opportunity. If a family wants in person, they have that choice. If they want to work asynchronously, they have that as well.
I just want to make sure that we're using other means to communicate with families than just through, through electronic communication.
The next step for us is really going to be publicizing the program. We didn't want to publicize it until we had board approval. So there is a motion tonight to cover approval, and we're going to hit the ground running even tomorrow starting that. But our next big step with families is going to be publicizing it and making sure the word is out and they know how to register and what to do to register that. So we have the right students who are really interested and have that need.
Right. And then another question is that how we doing with staffing?
So we've already posted that as pending so that we can try and collect as much staffing as possible. My goal is to only offer what I can adequately staff. Being completely transparent, I feel like this is going to be my #1 limiting factor as to how many sessions we can offer. So my goal is to try and secure staffing at next board meeting, bring a motion to you for approval of all of that staffing, at which case I can then give you the exact details as to how many sessions we're going to run. But we've already opened that as an anticipated position so that we can start gathering that now and bring that to you next month.
Right. And I two last points. One is that it's our understanding that, and Mr. Fink is here, it's our understanding that we can put this in as reimbursement through the covert relief money. And he's given me the thumbs up. I believe that was the thumbs up. So that would be money that would be coming from the federal government. And the last thing is I just want to make sure that we take into consideration that part of the concerns with learning loss is associated to virtual or asynchronous learning. So how successful will we be with addressing that learning loss if we continue with asynchronous or virtual lessons? I mean, I want to make sure that we're figuring out how we're going to progress, because that's the reason we're doing this. is because students were either virtual or asynchronous.
Sure, and that was some of the feedback that I did get from the families, is that they felt that the virtual learning led to this. They weren't apt to sign up for a virtual option again for the learning loss. So I think having that in-person option is going to be really helpful. I'm also hoping that maybe the families who are a little bit reserved in returning right now, this might be a good gateway for the summer for them to come in, get reacclimated to the building, especially with younger kiddos. Sometimes it's easier for them to get back in the building when it's a little bit quieter. I'm hoping that that might also help encourage that as well. But I'm hoping that by having the three options, that families will find something that meets their needs best. Again, I wish I could make this program as large as I possibly can, but I know that it's going to be difficult to staff to the large degree that I would love to make this program.
Right. And sorry, last question. How are we going to gauge success?
So in part, the data that's going to be through iReady. What's nice about the data is that all students will then be using that, so we can get an idea as to where they are, and that within the program, the in-person, the virtual teachers will then be assigned their roster with specific needs for their students. So that will then, some of our teachers will be working with students that they only have for 2 weeks and don't know very well. So the iReady program will give them those specific needs so that the teachers then can provide targeted interventions while in the class, and they can then measure that within the class. Now, I will say we're not necessarily doing formal assessments, but we will have the iReady program until the end of the summer, and we can also track their progress within the program.
Yeah, I just think it's a great program. I also just want to encourage board members to realize too that this is a really good use of that funding. And COVID funding is difficult to use. I mean, you have to meet a lot of criteria. And so to create something like this that's so comprehensive, and I also think that Dr. Murray did a very good job of using the data in a very thoughtful and valuable way to create a flexible summer program to address specifically what the community wanted. A lot of them did not want to come in person, and so because of the summer, and they wanted to give their kids a break, and so she provided options for all three ways, which was really useful. So I just wanted to say that, and a great presentation also.
Thank you.
So I got a lot out of that presentation the first time you did it in curriculum, but even more tonight. And I also recently had a school board president's meeting, and there was a lot of chatter on there about some of the other districts doing some programs over the summer to address learning loss. So of course, this was pretty fresh in my mind. And all of them echoed the same concern that you have, Dr. Murray, about staffing. So I know you are not at the point yet where you have secured that, but is there interest being generated among the faculty that you think that there's a positive response out there so far? Are they in favor of this? What is the general feel?
Great question. So before I presented to the curriculum committee, I did do a brief survey with staff as well to gauge interest, because I didn't want to bring something to you that was completely, not something that I can make work out. So I did have some initial interest generated there. Now that applications are out and the dates are settled and everyone can see that, I have seen some decrease from the initial response I received, but I am still getting a very nice response. I'm working on patching it together to see where my holes are, and then I'm gonna kind of hit the ground and start maybe tapping some on the shoulders, maybe doing some gentle encouraging if I can, but I also want to respect the fact that I know our teachers have worked tirelessly, so I don't want to push too much, but I think I have some good interest. But it is still a concern of mine, because I don't think, as I have it written right now, I don't have enough staffing for the program as it's written now. So I will, again, only offer the amount of sessions that I can staff. So I'm hoping to still increase that over the next week or two.
I think the other thing too that I recall from, maybe there was a little more emphasis on it from what I recall from before, was that with the 2-week sessions, teachers don't need to sign up for the whole thing. There is some flexibility in there. You could do 2 weeks, you could go away or enjoy the rest of your summer, but maybe only do 1 2-week session. So
Correct.
are you highlighting that and putting some emphasis on that as well?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why we broke it up into 2-week sessions, not only for families and students, but also for our staff. Like you said, it would be difficult to probably get a commitment for the entire summer. So we are emphasizing that, trying to, again, see which interest we get and see where we are first as far as holes within the schedule. and then trying to hit the ground and fill some of that piece. But that is one of the benefits to why we broke it up into 2-week increments so that we could try and reach a larger population of teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Murray, thank you very much for such a well-prepared presentation and for presenting to our students and their families a very comprehensive program that takes in everything into account for our students. As you know, the learning loss, this learning gap, is not just something for Springford, it is something that our entire society is looking at. What you're addressing here is, I hope, phase one of a longer term goal to get our students back where they need to be for graduating from high school and to be prepared to go off. Reading on level, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know already, we need our students reading on grade level by 3rd grade. Otherwise, their chances of graduating from high school decreases significantly, according to the studies. Math by 7th grade, so that they can enter into the algebra programs and things, into the high school, the secondary math, prepared to be successful. So what you are presenting, we have an obligation to present. You know, we have an obligation to our community. This is why the federal funding is available for us to do this. But you're also providing an opportunity for this learning. So I hope that our families take advantage of this, that they understand that this isn't like extra, busy work or, punitive because we didn't get the days in the way they should have, we had hoped they'd be throughout the school year, that this is a really great opportunity for their child to gain this knowledge. And it's targeted. That's the beauty of it. I appreciate the teachers have given of their time this year. And I think also, Mrs. or Colleen had said too, that, we want to do everything that we can to recognize them and to help them to be a part of it because they know our students best. So I look forward to hearing the gains that are made and that hopefully like a phase 2 to continue this kind of program for our students. And anything that we can do for you as a board, I think we're all in agreement. We support that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I do feel so fortunate to have not only staff who is really committed, but also to have the board really support a project like this, because truthfully, it's not something we're required to do, but it's something that I think is helpful, and it's nice to have the flexibility in our family choice. But I do feel very fortunate to have such a supportive board and really seeing the value for that. So thank you so much for that.